Anyhow, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight and let you know that this event is being sponsored by the Lincoln Lakes Regional Chamber of Commerce. This is going to be a meet and greet, the town council candidate night. And I just want to say thank you to Affordable Plumbing for sponsoring this event, like he had a choice, but you know, he did great. I would also like to say that I feel very fortunate. I've held many, many events here at the Stewart Professional and Learning Center for Economic Development and other events. And every time I am impressed by how welcoming it is, what a nice facility it is, and they have outdone themselves again. Thank you very much, Mark, Anita, family. And if you haven't looked at the snacks that they're providing everybody out back, they're really quite spectacular. They outdid themselves again. So tonight's forum is going to be a little different. We're going to start out by introducing each candidate who's up here one at a time. They're going to get up, they're going to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about themselves, what their experience is, why they're running, and what they think the biggest concerns are in our community right now. Once they're done, they'll sit down and we'll go on introducing the candidates. Once they're all introduced, they're going to retire to the tables that have their names on them. The purpose of this is so you as individuals can have a conversation with them one-on-one, so you get to know them personally and get to know all about them. This is not going to be a debate-like format. It's not going to have set questions. This is all up to you to ask them what's most relevant on your mind today. So I will ask for everybody to behave in a civil manner. Like I said, this is supposed to be informative and friendly and conversational. So if there's any elevated voices or any confrontational events or anything like that, I will come up and tap your shoulder and respectfully ask you to leave, because this is not what this is about. We can all have good conversations without letting them get angry or personal. So with that, thank you all for coming. And by the way, my name is Ruth Burtz, and if you don't know me, well, I guess you don't realize I'm the most popular person in Lincoln right now. So with that, I'm going to start. I'm going to go in no really a particular order. I'm going to use the ballot, so there's like no preferential treatment here to anybody. We were expecting one more candidate, Dan Summers. I don't see him here.
He was just parking.
You were just talking to him?
He was just parked.
Okay, so he'll be in shortly. We did not have Jeremy Dill or Lee Rand confirm that they were joining us, so we regret they're not here for you to ask their questions, but they were given the opportunity. So with that, we'll start with the introductions. And the first one is George Edwards. George?
George Edwards, lived in Lincoln for 43 years, born and raised here. Served on the council for 9 years. I started on the council when the mill first went down, and we had a big job of what we were going to do with the mill site and what we were going to try to do for economic development, where we're going to focus on economic development or just kind of become a retirement community and let the mill site go into a super fund. So you've seen some of the work that's been being done over there and the biofine coming in. That's some of the hard work from the council and all the town employees. The biggest issues facing Lincoln right now, obviously number one is taxes, and the number two is economic development. My approach to the tax situation is to find more revenue sources of, charging outside towns appropriately for services and charging outside towns appropriately for services. Looking at the reevaluation, I think that's going to really help some people in town, and looking at getting all the properties that are not being appropriately taxed on the tax rolls. And that's my statement.
Mr. Ireland, you're next.
I'm next. I prepared my remarks because I'm known to yap a lot, so this will help keep me focused. First, I'd like to say thanks, Scott, for sponsoring this candidate forum. My name is David Ireland Jr., and I'm running for Lincoln Town Council because I believe it's time to return our town government to the people it's meant to serve, the residents of Lincoln. I've built a career on solving problems others couldn't. As an independent paralegal, I successfully won the first Social Security disability case for fibromyalgia. After 3 different attorneys from 3 different law firms across the USA had tried unsuccessfully. In the late 1990s, I served as the communications director for the Professional Logging Contractors of Maine and the American Loggers Council, giving voice to the hardworking Mainers who kept our economy moving. I have also worked as campaign consultant manager for 2 U.S. presidents, several U.S. senators, representatives, and numerous state candidates, gaining first-hand experience in how leadership, when done right, serves people, not power. As a building contractor, I helped Efficiency Maine make a Department of Energy home efficiency program work after it had been failed in 26 other states. I not only made it succeed, but made it profitable while helping Maine families cut their heating bills by 20%. Over the past 6 years, I've traveled across America, reporting and interviewing everyday Americans who make this country work. But after seeing what's been happening with our town government since January, I've put my travel plans on hold to run for Lincoln Town Council. My campaign is built on four key priorities. Number 1, put Lincoln residents first. Families and small businesses are being squeezed harder every year. As your next town councilor, I will work to identify waste, cut unnecessary spending, and deliver real savings to lower property taxes. Number 2, replace town manager. Lincoln deserves a town manager who can lead with integrity, accountability, and genuine respect for human life. Unfortunately, the current town manager has lost that confidence and trust with the people of Lincoln. As your next counselor, I will make a motion to terminate Mr. Bronson's contract at the earliest opportunity. Number 3, make spending transparent and accountable. Every dollar Lincoln spends comes from you, the taxpayer. As your next town councilor, I will make a motion to post every employee's name, title, job description, pay, along with all monthly town expenditures, bids, and purchases on the town's website. And lastly, establish a better town council for Lincoln. The current town council majority ignored the will of the people by renewing the current town manager's contract and giving him his lucrative 6-figure salary again. Instead of saving the extra revenues that poured in from COVID's real estate boom, this council went on a 6-year spending spree, like a dad handing his 16-year-old daughter an American Express black card and saying, go, have fun shopping with your friends. And now, after years of reckless spending, the same group tells us their hands are tied, the costs are fixed, and nothing can be done to lower our taxes. They're pointing fingers at everyone and everything but themselves for why our town budget and property taxes have given us all sticker shock. They blame the school budget, they blame inflation, they blame the, excuse me, the Maine Revenue Service, they blame Penobscot County, union obligations, and on and on and on. Anything to avoid admitting to their own failures to control spending. The truth is, this council has approved every major increase and expansion that's driven taxes higher and higher. That's not leadership. That's excuse making. Lincoln needs a town council willing to take responsibility, tell the truth, and make the tough decisions needed to protect our town's future. Because if this continues, there won't be much of a town left to save. If you're happy with the current state of affairs, then I'm not your candidate. But if you believe, as I do, that we can do better, that accountability needs to start at town hall, that we shouldn't leave our friends and families in neighboring towns to die simply because their town doesn't have a signed contract with us, and that our seniors deserve to stay in their homes, then I sincerely ask for your vote on November 4th.
Now we'd like to introduce Mary LaMonaco.
I'm impressed, Ruth. Most people don't pronounce it correctly the first time. Hi, I'm Mary LaMonaco. I'm delighted to meet all of you. I realise that for most of you, I'm probably an unknown face. I've lived in Lincoln for over 8 years now, but I've travelled a great deal for my job, so I've not often been home. I did serve on the planning board a few years ago, and have spent a lot of time in Lincoln. I'm not very tied into town or to the stories or news that's going on. What I do have is the experience that I bring to the table. I have spent the last 25 plus years of my career working in private enterprise. I worked for IBM and for Manpower Group. I've led teams of over 1,000 people from countries all over the world. Clearly, by my accent, I don't sound like I'm from here. I'm not from Maine, but I was born in Georgia. So it's a southern accent, it's just very, very southern. I grew up though in a town that was even smaller than this one, very remote. So when I hear stories about people not getting the care they need from ambulance services, understand that where I grew up, there was no ambulance service. So if you get snake bitten, because it's Australia, if you don't have somebody there to treat you, you're dead. It's that simple. So this is not a trivial matter when we're talking about taxes versus services, because that's really the discussion. It's where do you fall on the spectrum of how much taxes is worth paying for how much services you're going to receive. So I've managed budgets, like I said, of over $30 million. I've done it for a long time. I work in IT, I manage contracts. I'm really motivated to run just to try and help Lincoln. I was sitting in the town council meeting where the topic that came up was the IT system failure that caused some of the issues with the latest tax bills. Those are issues I deal with every day professionally, and I would like to be able to offer those services to Lincoln and help. I do see three very clear areas that we need to talk about and that we need to address. And the first one is transparency. Lincoln actually does a pretty good job when you look at all the surrounding towns' websites, when you look at what towns make available. Lincoln actually puts a large volume of material out there. How it's organised and how it's accessible is a totally different issue. Like trying to delve into the budget to answer questions about what could be cut, where is the waste, is a huge undertaking. Yes, you can see this year's budget. You can see it compared to last year. Go and find the year before, if you haven't worked in the town council and you don't have access to that information. Then take that information, which is in an accounting format, and actually try and look at it to get an answer as to what is the total budget for the fire department, split across 4 different accounts. So you actually have to do math. It's not my strong suit because I use Excel, but point still stands, right? You need to be able to see what you're dealing with to be able to address it. So as taxpayers, you deserve a dashboard. Something very simple where you can see where your money goes and you can see what effect that money has. That's tied to my second point, which is accountability. I don't know the ins and the outs of the town manager situation or the staffing. What I do see is there's a lot of contention. Some people aren't happy, some people are very happy. But when I ask the question, what is the standard that they're being held to? What are the performance metrics that we're holding any member to? I don't get an answer because there aren't any. So number 2 is setting performance expectations and performance metrics so that you can manage what you can measure. Point number 3 is coming down to taxes. And let's be real, we all want to pay less taxes. I think my tax bill when I first moved here was $600 for the year. It is now about $2,000. I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to struggle with that, but I realise that many are not in that same position. So there's 2 sides to the equation. You can cut cost, or you can increase revenue. Cutting cost has been a hot topic, so I actually started doing some analysis. In order to cut $100 off of the average taxpayer's bill, you have to cut $405,000 from the budget. That $405,000 is about 6% of the operating budget. So I'm going through the budget going, what totals up to that? That's getting rid of the library, and that's getting a volunteer town manager with absolutely no office to sit in. I am not, by the way, suggesting that that's what we do. I'm just trying to say that's your commensurate size of the cut that you need to make to save $100. So the question for the town is, what level of service do you want for that? That kind of reduction could mean less police officers. Well, their overtime's already gone up 32% year over year, and that drives increases in the budget. So it's not just a matter of cutting, it's a matter of understanding the data, understanding what it's telling you, measuring the performance of what you expect, and being able to account for that. The best way to mitigate the tax increases in the future is to actually grow your revenue. The current town budget is about 35% funded from other revenue sources. And that includes about $86,000 for the lease payment that Biofine's making. That's an increase in revenue that does not come out of your pocket. And that's what we need more of. We need to encourage the economic development to be able to pay for the services that we rely on. And that's what I hope to help Lincoln do. And if any of that sounds like common sense and just plain out, duh, Mary, that's like just simple, then please, I would love to have your vote. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Kathy Moisen.
Hello, I'm Kathy Moisen. Boy, that's a tough act to follow. A lot of numbers and things thrown around. So I agree with what Mary has said. I agree with things that David has said and things that George said. So what it comes down to, I think everybody agrees that we don't want taxes to go up. It's how do you think you're going to keep them down? Is it through cutting? I think there's some cutting that can be done, but I think it's more how you can expand it, expand the tax revenues. We've had some issues in the assessing, which I'm not blaming on the assessor, let's be clear about that. But we have some issues to be addressed, so it's getting to the bottom of those. It's fighting with the legislature to get them to vote that some of the mandates that come down to Lincoln that take the money away from us and is not funded. It's making sure that every employee has the tools they need to do their job and they're productive at doing it. It's communicating with the members of the community so they understand what's being done. You know, if they don't understand and see what economic development is doing, of course they're saying, where's all our money going? There's nothing happening. I look at that mill every day, there's nothing happening. There's lots of things happening over there, and it just doesn't get communicated out so people understand it. I'm retired. I worked for 40 years myself in business, in commercial. So the municipal world to me was a whole new ball of wax, the way things are handled. I spent 5 years in the planning board. I spent near on 5 years on the council. So I've gotten a good understanding of how things work, who's who on what base, who do you need to connect with. So I think I'm a good candidate for you to get back in there. I've been off the council for a year. I got part of throw the bums out last year and the taxes went up. That happens, I understand it. But in the meantime, I've continued to go to the council meetings, be informed, go to the planning board meetings, stay in touch. There's people in this room that will tell you that I've stayed in touch with them over the interim years to make sure that anything that we can possibly do to improve things is being done. And I would ask for your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Eric Rojo. Did I say that correctly?
Rojo.
Rojo.
I just keep the original. I'm Eric Rojo. I moved into Lincoln 4 years ago. One of my dreams, I'm from Old Town originally, although I spent 31 years in the Army. At one point, I was one of the helicopters that we see flying around here, flying for the Maine National Guard. I used to come to Lincoln as a child with my grandmother to visit some relatives here, so I am not completely unfamiliar what I remember as a beautiful town then. My wife and I, who was a college professor, fell in love with the old goating farm, so with the help of the VA, we bought it. This year, ticker shock, $250,000 4 years later, and it's valued as $600,000. I wish I could sell it for that, but that's what our tax base is. My next door neighbor is leaving town because she cannot afford the taxes. And I've spoken to other people that are ready to leave if things don't change. What I bring to the equation, in addition to my 31 years of Army service where I retired as a colonel, I've been a CEO, I've been a COO, and part of that, I joined a company that offered what was called procurement services for governments. I led teams in Argentina, Guatemala, Washington, D.C., Uganda, Kenya, where our job was to look at how governments spend money and how that money was being wasted and the ways to find other services, save money, and save on the taxes. In a short visit I did to St. Louis to the Defense Finance Service, I was able to find $1 billion of losses to the United States Navy. Something that shocks some people because I was just, in their eyes, I was a simple infantry officer. Well, there's much in any institution, no matter what anybody says, where there can be improvements on how we do things, how we manage things, and always be able to find ways to save money. Again, we want services and we want to pay for those services, but there are ways of doing it through a system that we call best value. You have a total system of responsibility where you first start looking at when somebody from government says, I want this, no, you want or you need. So you first separate wants and needs. Once it's validated that it's a true need, then you go through a process of analysis to find the best value on things. And not always the cheapest is the best, nor the most expensive. So it has to be a complete process of ownership. So whoever asked for this in the budget has to own the value of the process, the proper use, and the proper execution to see its full life cycle. That in itself helps save money. Also, I find a town with no leadership. I am a member of the American Legion, one of the founders of the Museum of the Honor Guard, and with the exception of Sheldon Hannington and Kathy, nobody's ever at any public event. Our new director of affairs at least sits in front of a parade, but other than that, we're a headless town. We need leadership. I offer leadership in addition to experience in managing budgets and looking at a way of getting things done with the minimum of resources, and that's something you learn in the Army. Because once you're in the field, when we were in Vietnam, we had to do with what we could find, and that is a way of life. I am now teaching at Lee Academy. I came to Lincoln hoping to be a farmer and a teacher. Farm was fun for a couple of years, it didn't work, but now I'm very happy teaching the students at Lee Academy. So again, I offer experience, I offer vision, I offer leadership, and I would appreciate your vote on the 4th.
Our next candidate is Mr. Dan Summers.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Rojo, for your service. And also, I want to thank Mary for speaking. I wasn't here to have, or to see what you had to say. So I'm running for re-election for town council. And one of the reasons why I ran in the first place is because we didn't have an army of people that were running for council at that time. But I thought it was important that somebody from the town, who lives here in the town, run for council, just because I think that's service of the community is very important. I'm not gonna, kind of revisit what's already been said here. I will tell you that the reason why I'm running again is I'm for consistency. We've got a lot of projects that are currently in the works over at the mill site, and I want to make sure that we keep that going. We've invested a lot of time and a lot of grant monies to get the mill property going again. And it does take time. And sometimes things happen to be or taking a little slow, just given the some of the bureaucracy that's involved. As far as I'm perfectly happy with the leadership here in the town of Lincoln. And but I just want to say this is what I'm running for, is for consistency and to get that mill property redeveloped, so that we can have another tax base, some other revenues coming in to help with the tax base. And I think, Bobby, if I'm reading yours correctly, that you're pretty much for the same thing as far as attracting other small businesses to the area.
Yeah, I haven't spoken
She
yet.
has-
Oh, you haven't?
No,
I read your statement. But anyways, that's who I am.
We're introducing in the order of the ballot.
Oh, well, you should have given me that.
Nice job, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next one up that's on the ballot is Mr. John Trask.
I am John Trask, and I'm the current council chairman. I'm running for re-election, and it's pretty much, I've served in a lot of roles. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force, where I was an aircraft electrician. I've worked at Metropolitan Life Insurance, where I held a Series 6 license, which enabled me to sell life insurance products that were based in the stock market. I've been a civil deputy and a jail guard, and I've been a detective with the Penobscot County Sheriff's Office for the last 24 years. I currently hold the rank of detective sergeant. The only thing is, I would say, other than Dan, that we do have a lot of projects. The only way we're gonna lower taxes, you heard from Ms. Lamonaco, right on the button, that it takes over $400,000 to reduce your taxes $100. So we need more money coming in. And I'm not for getting rid of the ambulance service. I think every one of us deserve that ambulance service. We don't want to wait for anyone coming from Orono or Howland or Bangor to service somebody that's having a heart attack or any other medical condition for that matter. I don't think with businesses coming in that we want to be reducing our police force either. The town right now, we have to deal with union contracts that have stipulated increases in them every year. And I think over the next 3 years, we could probably reduce our tax burden by 15%, but we gotta figure out what we're gonna cut. And like I say, we're working with union contracts that have those increases that are locked in. And we try to negotiate the best we can when we negotiate the union contracts, but to keep people in this area where police officers, EMTs, and firefighters can pretty much write their own check wherever they want to go, we have to stay competitive. But basically right now, I'd like to see Biofine in here, and our economic development folks have gotten over $15 million in grants and deferred loans. They're working hard to get these people in here. And I think I've been on the council 9 years, just like George, and I think we just need to keep up what we're doing. A lot of people are asking us, why all the legal bills? Well, we've been paying an attorney for the last 10 years to not lose our rivers bank to bank to the tribes. They go to Augusta every year, they try to get the rivers bank to bank. We can't afford that. We can't afford to have to pay another entity for another license to license our new mill. And so we have an attorney on staff that we pay every year to fight this project in Augusta. Those are the things that we have to keep going, and I'd appreciate your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
So the last candidate we have tonight, but not least, is Bobby Storman.
Hi, my name is Bobby Storman, and I'm running for the one-year position against Lee Rand and Jeremy Dill. I am a business owner. My husband and I own Just Baked. I'm also an Army mom, an educator, and an industry advocate. My motto is Bobby Gets It Done. Some of my accomplishments, I am the current president of the Lincoln Lakes Region Chamber of Commerce, and I have been for 2 years now. In January of 2025, we decided to not have a paid director anymore. This has resulted in me dedicating 30 to 35 hours a month, keeping the chamber going. We had a very passive board. The director was pretty much doing everything. And over the last year, I have energized our board, assigned specific tasks so that we're all working as a unit, and we are doing some wonderful things for the business community in Lincoln, and it's something I'm very proud of. Another way that I got involved, when my son was diagnosed with Asperger's in 3rd grade, he had a teacher who had a couple of other students in her class that had autism, and she wasn't dealing very well with it. She didn't know how to manage the classroom. So another mom and I got together and we raised money to send 4 teachers to the Autism Summer Institute that summer. Over the next 10 years, we raised over $50,000 to provide autism training for teachers and law enforcement in New Hampshire. Currently, actually in the past January, my husband and I worked with Mike Tipping, the senator, on LD 1488, which is a law to reduce testing costs in our industry. I don't like waste or making people pay for things that are not necessary. Currently in our industry, when we make an edibles, we have to pay $350 in testing costs. Our bill, which is currently sitting on the governor's desk unsigned, will reduce those costs to $120. I will be a taxpayer advocate. I like to decide what's needed and what is reasonable for the taxpayers to pay. Some issues facing our town. First of all is the budget. The funds are well allocated, and any tax decrease is going to come from cuts in services. George said that about 70% of the budget is due to salaries and benefits. There isn't a lot to cut there. We really do need to increase the tax base. The mill site needs to continue to be developed for small, medium, and large businesses. I've been out canvassing, and I talked to Mr. McConnell, the former principal. He said that there's a lot of abandoned properties in Lincoln, and he worked really hard to get an ordinance so that we could get those places back on the tax roll. And that's something that we need to start looking at. Lincoln needs housing and affordable housing. Let's just start getting rid of these abandoned properties, selling them, and putting up some units that people can live in. Another area is the town manager. I'm just going to say it, he's not likable. He is effective. I'm sorry, sir. $125,000 is not an unreasonable salary for a town manager. When we went to bring our business to town 7 years ago, he was the town manager. Most town managers move on in 5 years. To expect that he is paid that amount, it is reasonable for what he has done for the town. When you look at the public safety director who's making $110,000 for overseeing 2 departments, and our town manager who's overseeing an entire town, it is reasonable. We do need to finalize this mill project. Ruth and the town manager and the economic developer have gotten us this far. We really do need to continue with that. If I was elected, I would certainly put in place some accountability. I feel that the town manager should be hosting some business leader breakfasts. He should be more accountable to the taxpayers. Meet with taxpayers from time to time. Put out a newsletter. Tell us what you're doing. Show us how you're earning your salary. Another area of concern is Ruth's position. Ruth is our tax assessor. She's also assistant economic developer, and I believe she's currently doing some planning board work as well as other duties. I know a few years ago, Ruth asked for some help. She was actually given more work. I feel it's really, really short-sighted of the town to continue to go forward with Ruth having all these responsibilities and not hire somebody for her to train for her eventual replacement when she decides to retire. Another thing is we need to increase the tax base. We need to draw businesses to Lincoln. In doing so, we have to maintain a strong infrastructure. We need fire, we need police, we need good school system, we need parks and recs. We really need to look at that mill site and develop it for small and medium businesses as well. When my husband and I were looking to locate our business in Lincoln, there was no place for us to just buy a small acre lot and put up a building. We really need to develop the mill site for those small businesses. We should be marketing down at Eastern Maine Community College to the people who are graduating with plumbing degrees, electrician's degrees, welding. They could come set up shop in Lincoln. We need the trades people here. That will increase our tax base. I don't have all the answers, but I do have the skills, the commitment, and the passion to represent you on the Lincoln Town Council for the one-year position. I would encourage everybody to go out and vote on the 4th, and if you could vote for me, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.